Hebrews 4. Let us therefore fear, lest the promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest. Although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. For he spake in a certain place of the seventh day, on this wise, and God did rest the seventh day from all his works. And in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest. Seeing therefore it remaineth that some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached entered not in because of unbelief. Again, he limiteth a certain day, saying in David, today, after so long a time, as it is said, today, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts. For if God had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day? There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God. For he that is entered into his rest, he also hath ceased from his own works, as God did from his. Let us labor therefore to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners, whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right. What I want to get into today, go into some history. All right, dealing with the Roman Emperor Constantine, which was a Jake. Okay, and during his time, all right, we're going to get into. I got a documentary I was watching. Lord willing to let me, play it without cutting the screen. We'll see. All right, but this is the Jake. This is the emperor that made Christianity, okay, the official religion of the Roman Empire. Hence, you have an era of Rome called the Holy Roman Empire. All right, that coincides with what we know as the Byzantine Empire. Okay, which after Constantine and his sons, began to rule. Okay, in Eastern Europe. All right, this is what scholars call the Byzantine Empire. Okay, oh, Salaki. So we're gonna get some precepts. And then we'll go into the live stream. I mean the documentary. Oh, Salaki. Give me 1 second. Get some water. Yeah, Salakia. But so I want to start out with some precepts, because Constantine was an example, wicked leadership among Jake, and he's responsible, for a lot of the pagan traditions, that we see in Christianity today. You know, this is pretty much when Christianity began to take on pagan, all right, rituals and ideologies. Okay, because before then, you had the authentic, followers of Yahweh. Okay, and they were living amongst, the Romans. You had Christians in the Roman Empire, which, worship many gods. Okay, and we're gonna tie these things in. But first, like I say, let's get a few precepts. Which the Bible, when you go into the Bible, the prophets, would always address, wicked leadership. Okay, amongst Jake, and it wasn't only, when we was in our land and we was, had, our sovereignty, but it'd be, Jake that will come in the power, even amongst the heathens. All right, and Jake would be on BS. Okay, but the leadership will always be addressed. When you read the Bible, the prophets was always addressing the leadership and rebuking the leadership. Okay, from the kings, to the different, false prophets and, the priests that will be going off. Okay, so when you go here, this is Jeremiah 5:26. It said, "For among my people are found wicked men." Okay, they lay wait as he that seeth, as he that setteth snares, they set a trap, they catch men. Okay, and it was always, wicked men, amongst, the leadership, especially the upper ranks. Okay, within Israel. Okay, and these wicked men will get in power, and they will lay snares. They was they would set traps. We had the scribes and Pharisees, the wicked, scribes, Pharisees, and Sadducees. They pretty much, they weaponized the law against Jake. Okay, which ensnared Jake, to have to, constantly, you know, uh, uh, buy sacrifices from them. Okay, just as you see today, Jake has commercialized the fringes. Okay, make it, a doctrine that if you don't have them, you're off, but then sell you the fringes. You see, you always had Jake in that mindset, that was getting off. All right, but we're going to see what Constantine, he's going to get off in a major way. And there's some history to know. It says that the cage is full of birds, so are the house is full of deceit. Therefore, they are become great and waxing rich. Yeah, pretty much they make, all right, a lifestyle off deception. They made a lifestyle off deception. Okay, they making a living off of it. You see, they becoming rich, enriched based off deceits. Okay, so you keep reading. It says they are waxing fat, they shine. Yeah, they overpass the deeds of the wicked, man. Because when Jake does something, he's able to do it, okay, on another level because he's an Israelite. When Jake get into anything, and Jake is all into something, he can do it on another level because he's an Israelite, man. You know. So it said they overpass the deeds of the wicked. They judge not the cause, all right, the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper, and the right of the needy they do not judge, man, which means Jake wouldn't be for the well-being of the people, of his people. Okay. Leadership is supposed to be for the welfare, okay, of the people, man. Okay, because by default, as leaders, you're going to get, particular perks and, there's particular privilege that you have. All right. But it should be after, all right, the cause of the people, okay, is squared away. They're taken care of, man. And you have a lot of our leaders that wouldn't do that. And that's why Howard Shah was so hard on the leadership when he came, because Jake was off, sold out to the Romans, was still, beating Jake over the head with the law as if they was perfect in the law. Okay. And Yahweh Shai would constantly, confront them on that, man. Okay. Because it was the wicked leadership conspiring with, the Roman government to crucify Yahweh Shai. Okay. This is Isaiah 9:16. It says, matter of fact, I started 14. It said, therefore the Lord will cut from Israel head and tail, branch and rush in one day. The ancient and honorable, all right, he is the head, and the prophet that teaches lies, he is the tail. So from leadership top to bottom, okay, we always dealt with corruption, man, amongst Jake. All right, and that's why Yahweh Shai was distilling, all right, it was like instilling in the disciples about good leadership. Okay, he that is greatest shall be a servant. Okay, humility, all right, integrity, and the care for the people. You see, verse 16 said, for the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. Okay, so the leadership, will cause Jake, to err, the masses to err. All it takes is a few, all right, wicked leaders to cause the masses to err. Because the leaders had the power to set, standards and laws and, change things, add things, take away. Okay. They had the authority to enforce, particular things, and it will cause the masses to err. So wicked leadership has always, been a plague, amongst us as a people. All right. That's why the Lord, has the hopeful elect separated, and being perfected, through the suffering, man, to become those righteous leaders. Now, let's go from there. I want to get this video. All right, so this is the name of the documentary. All right, is the controversy of Constantine's conversion to Christianity. All right, secrets of Christianity, real history. Okay, so this video is for fair use. I'm not making any money, Terry gains. All right, this is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Okay, so we'll see if they let us play it. All right, but I'm gonna start it here. It's gonna go give the history of Constantine, and then it's gonna go into, his story. What he claims, he converted, to Christianity. Which is gonna be found out a lie. Okay, he used that for political purposes. All right, he used the banner of Christianity for political purpose. Okay, it was not sincere. All right, he was still a pagan worshiper at heart, and he infused paganism, into the Bible. So let's let this play, and we'll go from there.
Why so much of the world today is Christian? The question:
whether Constantine himself became a true Christian.
I'm underneath modern Istanbul, the city that Constantine built. Until Constantine, some 300 years after the crucifixion, Christianity was essentially an illegal movement. After Constantine, within a few years, a few decades, it would become the official religion of the Roman Empire, and the reason why so much of the world today is Christian. The question is, who was he? And the religion that he created, is it a religion that Jesus would recognize?
In the 4th century AD, the Roman Empire was divided into 4 major areas. Each region had its own ruler. But when Constantine's father, who ruled the West, died in York, England in the year 306, his army declared Constantine ruler of the entire Roman Empire. This sparked a bloody struggle to determine who would end up emperor. In the year 312, Constantine was pitted against the general Maxentius, who controlled the central region, including the city of Rome. Their famous struggle for power was depicted 1,200 years later in these frescoes by Renaissance artist Raphael. Based on early Christian sources, Raphael painted these narratives on the Vatican walls. And it's these frescoes that tell us the traditional story of how Constantine converted to Christianity. But there's a much older work of art that tells a different tale. It's called the Arch of Constantine. And Constantine himself had it built here, in the center of Rome, to celebrate his victory over Maxentius. Over 6 stories high, Constantine's arch was erected just 91 meters from the Colosseum, where Christians were once killed for sport. For fear of damage, the Department of Antiquities in Rome hasn't given anyone permission to examine it up close for more than 30 years. Until now.
The closest you can get to Constantine is the arch behind me across from the Colosseum. It's Constantine's victory arch, and on it he sculpted his narrative. The problem is you can't get close to it. In 30 years, no one has. But now we're going to go up and take a look.
In his quest to decode the arch, Simca is joined by Constantine expert Elizabeth Marlowe, who has seen the carvings on Constantine's arch only from ground level or in photographs. Until now, she has never seen them up close.
Oh my God, look at that. That is so fantastic. Look how big they are.
From this elevated perspective, Simca can now see how Constantine wanted his victory over Maxentius depicted in stone for all time.
This is amazing. I'm excited.
It's spectacular to be up here.
Everyone should see Constantine's arch this way.
Constantine's arch depicts the battle between Constantine and Maxentius for strategic control of the Milvian Bridge, just north of Rome. According to the tradition depicted in Raphael's paintings, Constantine's force.
So you had this battle, Constantine, when his father died, all right, the military made Constantine the emperor over all Rome, because you had 4, all right, at this time the Roman Empire was split up, into 4, province, 4 main province. And when Constantine's father died, let's say the military made Constantine the emperor over all the Roman Empire. And you had one rival, challenger to the throne, and that was Marcinus. And that battle that he had with Marcinus is the battle in which he said, he's seen, a cross in the sky and, the Messiah, speak to him. And he had Raphael, to draw a picture of that, of his story of that battle and his conversion of Christianity. But it was way after that battle when he came up with that story. Now, the Ark of Titus, that was around the time of that battle, and it's going to tell the true story, of what Constantine was about, even because this is after the battle, So this is what they're going to go into now, all right? They're going into an older artifact because his painting is way after, when he gives his so-called testimony of his conversion to Christianity, after this battle. But this art that they're investigating is going to tell a different story,
Forces were greatly outnumbered. But then Constantine is said to have had a vision of the cross, followed by a dream of Jesus that changed his life and ours forever. In that moment, Constantine was said to have denounced the Roman paganism that he was brought up with in favor of a newfound belief in Christianity. He ordered his soldiers to paint their shields and banners with the symbol of the cross and led his army to victory. He then went on to convert the entire Roman world to the Christian faith. That's what the Christian tradition tells us. But what does Constantine's arch have to say? In this panel, Constantine's face was deliberately hacked out by a long-forgotten opponent to his legacy. Here, we can still clearly see the defeated Maxentius drowning in the river Tiber. But is there any evidence that Constantine really had a vision of the cross that converted him to Christianity?
Who's that guy behind him?
That's one of his own men carrying a standard. That's a military standard.
No cross there.
No cross there.
You can't see that from down below.
No.
I see a shield very clearly.
Yes.
No cross there.
No. When we look at the evidence from Constantine's reign itself, the Arch of Constantine really being the best source we have in the years immediately following that battle, there's no trace of Christianity on this monument.
No images of Jesus, no crosses, no Christian symbolism anywhere on his arch. Considering his vision, you would think Constantine would be championing Christianity. Is it possible that there was no vision at all? In Constantine's day, emperors had to win over the Roman army. Was the vision invented to win over Christian soldiers? But wait a minute, the Roman army persecuted Christians. It crucified Jesus. There wouldn't have been Christians in the Roman army. Maybe there were.
All right. And we're going to go back to it, use a couple of precepts. And this shows you that, that word, has spread, because this is what almost 300 years after the crucifixion and resurrection of Yahushua. This is close to, 285, 90 years after that. So you had the word going forth, the disciples, because even though, Claudius, banned Jake, all right, for teaching the word, just let you know that the word was still going forth. Okay. And get a few precepts. All right. And this all started, the spread of the gospel. And these were Israelites in these different empires that was converting to Christianity. All right. Cornelius the centurion. All right. He was a Roman centurion, but he had converted to following Yahushua. Okay. So the pre-Constantine Christians was followers of Yahushua. They were just labeled as Christians. Okay. In, the different Roman, in these different, in these different areas, where these churches were, these different cities which was within the Roman Empire. All right. So let's go here in Matthew 28. Okay. And kind of walk this history down a little bit. This is Matthew 28 and 18 it says, and Yahushua came and spake unto them, saying, all power was given unto me in heaven and in earth. And go ye therefore and teach all nations, because the Israelites was amongst all nations. All right, baptizing them in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I command you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. Okay. So that what they call the Great Commission. All right. And the disciples, will begin to go forth. All right. Teaching, which now, they're known as the apostles, which means sent forth. Okay. So by the time you get to the book of Acts, all right, chapter 11. Okay. I think it's 11 and I started at 19. All right. It says Acts 11 and 19 says, now they were scattered abroad upon the persecution that arose from Stephen. They rose about Stephen. All right. Stephen was stoned to death. Okay. For giving the testimony of Yahushua. All right. Early on, in the book of Acts. All right. So you had the followers of Yahushua being persecuted because the belief of Yahushua was contrary to the belief of pagan Rome. Like I said, even Nero, his mindset was that Rome could be at peace if we can get rid of those pesky followers of Yahushua, what they call Christians. Okay. So the Roman Empire was a hostile place to be, as a believer. And it said travel as far as Phoenice and Cyprus and Antioch, preaching the word to none but unto the Jews only. Okay, so these people that they're calling Christians are Israelites whom this word was preached to, as the apostles, began to teach. And you had other men that would begin to teach and be sent forth. Okay, just like you have the elder apostles today, as they began to teach and they came on a YouTube, what happened? They raised up other teachers. Okay, the same thing happened in the Roman Empire. The apostles went forth teaching, and other teachers raised up, and his word spread. Okay, it says, let me see. Yep. So this is verse 26. It says, and when he had found him, he had brought him unto Antioch, and it came to pass that the whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people, and the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. Okay, so these are Israelites that was being taught the word, believing and waking up. Okay, in this pagan Roman Empire, because Rome was a city. The book of Romans was written to the city of Rome, but the Roman Empire consisted, of a majority of these places that the disciples and apostles would teach. Okay, was under that banner of the Roman Empire. All right, so these Israelites, that was being taught Yahushua, was repenting and waking up. Okay, and eventually they will be called Christians, and this is pre-Constantine Christians. Okay, because after Constantine, it went downhill from there. Then you start getting, these into the Roman Catholic, doctrine. Constantine pretty much laid the foundation for the Roman Catholic doctrine, which he saw. He had added more madness into it, infused more, filth into it since then. All right, but they pretty much built on the pagan foundation laid by Constantine, which is documentary gonna get more into. Okay. Y'all let me know if we still good. I know this. Let's go here. Matter of fact, I'm going with one more precept. Going into this word spread. And we'll get back into the documentary. All right, so let's go here to John 12 and all right, this is the book of St. John, chapter 12, verse 24. And Yahushua speaking, it said, verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. Okay, and it was an analogy of him speaking of himself, Yahushua being that corn of wheat, pretty much like a seed that was planted, okay, and sprung up much fruit, so after his death and resurrection, that doctrine will bring forth much fruit, okay, and as a ruler, you have to appease your subjects, okay. There's a level, of appeasement that you have to do as a ruler to your subjects. So as this doctrine is growing, okay, the way to, because making Jake martyr for the truth, there wasn't, stopping the spread of, the gospel. It was only making it, expand. It was only making it grow. So Constantine came up with a new way to pretty much merge paganism into Christianity, man. okay, to appease both sides, because you still had pagans, all right, in Rome, and you had, a growing population of believers, okay. So his idea, was to just merge them, okay, and that's when he came up with that story, as if he converted, after that battle. But the ark of Constantine, the arch of Constantine, showed different, that he, was a full blown pagan, okay, because I say that arch was supposed to commemorate, his victory over Marcinus, all right, but it had no all right sign of his conversion, in which he said he converted before the battle and won, because of the Messiah, because of his new belief. You see, but that art shows different, man. All right, so let's go back to the documentary. Like I say, y'all let me know if it cut off, because I know I be tripping with these little old documentary, and god damn. All right, so let's play some more.
To investigate the possibility of Christians in Constantine's army, Simca travels to northern England, once the outer reaches of the Roman Empire. It's here where Constantine's rise to power began. The area is littered with Roman military forts, like this one, located at Hadrian's Wall on the Scottish border. And it's here that Andrew Burley has found evidence of Christians in the Roman army.
Now, what do you make of it?
Well, this is not a random thing. This is a very purposeful thing. Now, corresponding with the cross inside the room in this building here, on the section of the wall next door, there are 7 crosses like this one inserted into the wall, all in one section of wall. To have 7 so close together is very unusual.
3rd century Christian symbols carved into stone, but the same Roman army that crucified Jesus. Evidence that Christians were fighting in Constantine's army, even before Constantine came to power. Winning them over would have been of paramount importance. But were Christian soldiers also serving in his rival Maxentius's army?
There would be much more likely to be Christians in Maxentius' army than in Constantine. And Constantine's army was largely composed of people from the far barbarian north, where Christianity had made very much less impact.
So there you have it. You had, believers, in the ranks, and that was starting way back when Cornelius, which was over 250 years ago, by the time, Cornelius and the book of Acts, those things were taking place, so how much more, did you have believers amongst the ranks, so it was convenient for Constantine, to fake, a Christian conversion, to appease, the masses, man. And we're beginning with his military ranks, okay? But now we're gonna fast forward just a little bit, because you had, the common. It was more for the common people, the lower class, there was believers of Yahushua, but the upper class, they had other beliefs. Okay, and it's going to go into it, and it's going to go into the 2 that he merged, to make one. Okay, so fast forward a little bit.
Causing the Western world to become Christian. But was Constantine a true Christian? The most important statement we have from him is his triumphal arch in Rome. On it, Simca doesn't find a single Christian icon, but he does find pagan symbols. On this panel, Constantine is surrounded by pagan gods, the god of the river Tiber, a winged goddess of victory, and by Roma, goddess of Rome. An archaeological patchwork of pagan symbolism. Compelling evidence that Constantine only adopted Christian ideas to gain favor with Roman soldiers in both his and Maxentius's armies. But winning over common soldiers wasn't enough.
To gain control over the entire Roman Empire, Constantine needed the support of the officer corps and the Roman elite. Many members of these classes belonged to a mysterious cult that had been around since before Jesus. That cult was called Mithraism, named after a Mediterranean sun god called Mithras. How did Constantine mobilize both these religions to serve his own ends? Can it be that what appealed to him was a blend of Mithraism and Christianity? Did he fuse the two together to create a super religion that would allow him to gain control over the entire Roman world?
Not far from the Roman military fort where Simca has seen evidence of Christian soldiers in Constantine's army, another fort was discovered in 1949 by a French bulldog sniffing for bones. But instead of bones or Christian symbols, this fort revealed a special temple built by Roman officers that were devoted to the pagan god, Mithras.
My father's dog, same breed as this one, a French bulldog, was sniffing around and found the middle altar. As you can see, it's very wet here. It was all preserved due to the dampness.
Now, this is close to the Roman fort?
Yes, and it was 500 foot soldiers, and Mithras was for the officers. So that's why it's so small.
So the Roman officer class, which Constantine belonged to, secretly worshipped Mithras.
So you had, the foot soldiers, the common soldiers. Most of them was believers, of Yahushua. Okay, but as you go up the ranks, all right, you had Jake still into paganism. All right, Mithras, all right, which was a sun god. Okay, so you had the lower class, which if a brother can post that, James 2 and 5, and so he was just trying to appease too. He merging both to appease, okay, everyone, all right, but he was pagan at heart. Okay. Well, that's why we see, certain scriptures that the apostles, would write, it would appeal, all right, to the lower class people. You had certain believers that was of high ranks and high position. Okay. But for the most part, it was a lowly. All right. Let me see. Let me get it real quick. So you get the book of James chapter 2. Yeah, James chapter 2 verse. All right, so this is the book of St. James chapter 2 and verse 5. It says, "Hearken, my beloved brethren, have not the Most High chosen the poor of this world rich in faith, all right, and heirs of the kingdom which he have promised to them that love him." Okay, so you had those of the lower tier of the military that was more believers of Yahushua, and you had those of the other officer ranks, all right, the upper ranks, all the way up until the emperor, and those aristocratic, families that was into, all right, Mithraism, all right, which was a sun god. Okay, so it's just going to go into that more and more. All right, so let's let it play.
Mithras at this temple. At the exact same time, an increasing number of ordinary Roman soldiers were worshiping Jesus right next door. Mithraism was an elitist and secret religion, practiced only by men. Initiates walked into this clandestine temple, lit only by a few torches. Arriving at the front of the temple, these initiates would have seen an altar to the god Mithras. Rays projecting from his head. Lit from behind by candlelight, the halo effect symbolized Mithras' status as a sun god, a striking precursor to the halo that surrounds the head of Jesus. This could be mere coincidence if it weren't for the fact that archaeologists have found the remains of Mithraic temples all over the Roman Empire. And more often than not, those temples were found hidden beneath the world's first Christian churches.
Oh my gosh, put it out! Mom, hurry! Towel, yes. Hurry, I'm trying to open it with the towel.
To see.
So yeah, so you had those temples to Mithras found under, all right, the first churches, all right, of Rome. Okay. And this is just so it don't be confusion. Constantine didn't make up anything that was already written in the Bible. He just infused paganism to what was already written. Okay? He didn't make up any part of the Bible. He didn't come up with any characters of the Bible. He infused paganism to what was already written, the doctrine that was already established. Okay? And this is what, and this just goes back, as a matter of fact. I have a few more parts I want to play in there. Okay. Which let's go here. Well, this just shows that Jake, with always that Jake was doing this. Even you go to the priest, okay, back during the time of Ezekiel. Okay, this is Ezekiel chapter 8. All right. I start at 6. Ezekiel 8 and 6. It says, "He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, seest thou what they do, even the great abominations that the house of Israel committed here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary, but turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. And he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I digged, I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in, and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping thing and abominable beast and all idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the wall around about." So Jake was doing this back then, had secret idol temples back then. Okay, verse 11, and it says, "And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel, and in the midst of them stood Jazaniah, all right, the son of Shaphan, with every man with his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery, for they say, The Lord seeth us not, the Lord hath forsaken the earth. He said unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then said he unto them, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abomination than these. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, of the temple. And behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east, that they worship the sun toward the east. Okay, and Mithras, all right, was a sun god. Okay, It was a sun god. All right, which goes back to Egypt, Amun-Ra. Okay, the pharaoh was looked at as a sun god. Okay, and that's why the Lord, when he blacked out the sun, he was making mockery. He was making a statement. Okay, that he's the God over the sun. Because it was said that the pharaoh had to go to the river every morning for the sun to rise. Okay, so the pharaoh, one time it talked about how Moses approached Pharaoh at the river where he was doing their morning ritual. He would stand before the river, the Nile River, right before the sunrise, and it was him that caused the sun to rise. Okay, so when the Lord called that plague of darkness, okay, there was to make a point, that I'm the power over the sun. Okay, not no damn Pharaoh. All right, but Jake was always into these things, man. It's always been one of the plagues of Jake, idolatry, man. And this is what got us put into captivity. Okay, was idol worship. Okay, scripture speak about how idol, is the beginning of spiritual fornication. I think that's in that Wisdom of Solomon 14. Wisdom of Solomon 14. But that's what that's the main thing that got us packed up on boats. Okay. And scattered throughout the earth. Was idolatry, spiritual adultery, man. Yep, this is here. Let me post. All right. Paste this real quick. And there's a few more things I want to show on the documentary. All right. So let's go here. This is Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 12. It said, for the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them, the corruption of life. Okay? So this was the devising of idol was the beginning of spiritual fornication, man. And that's what got us our walking papers, our divorce papers as a nation, because of heavy idolatry, man. Okay? So you see, Constantine, all right, he's bringing it back, man. And you had some wicked kings amongst Israel, man. Maybe I know the father Hezekiah, I believe it was Ahaz. Yeah, that nigga was going crazy, in the temple. So how much more, this Jake Constantine who was raised in idolatry, amongst the nobles of Rome. Okay, so there's some more of this play. I want to jump up a little more. Maybe to about, let's see.
No offense, but if you're paying more than $30 per month on car insurance, you're getting ripped off. Guys, so
last attempt to reaffirm this papal narrative, which had already been shown to be a fiction.
A myth based not on history, but on a fiction. But if Eusebius's biography of Constantine represents the myth, what did Constantine really believe in? The only direct link we have to Constantine is his arch, which is adorned by pagan symbols. But on it, we can also see reliefs depicting 3 former emperors: the philosopher Marcus Aurelius, the conqueror Trajan, and the statesman Hadrian, all stolen from previous monuments and strategically recycled for his arch. Begging the question, why would Constantine decorate a monument to his own achievements with reliefs taken from other emperors? Unless he was really saying something about himself.
Isn't he telling us what everybody thinks are winners are really losers. And me, I'm the real winner. At the end of the day, I'm going to refashion the world in a way that Hadrian, Trajan, and Marcus Aurelius could not even imagine.
I would agree with you that Constantine would have been very happy if people looking at his arch had been able to take away the message that he is going to supersede the legacy of even Rome's best previous emperors.
But how was he going to do that? The answer may lie at the very top of the arch. Here, there is an inscription, and it states in Latin, Instinctu Divinitatis, which describes Constantine as divinely inspired. But if it's not Jesus who's inspiring him, which God is? When looking at what's depicted on his arch, what we find are pagan gods from the Roman pantheon, and none so prominently rendered as the sun god Apollo.
The light is amazing.
And it's so appropriate with the rising of the sun god right there to have it illuminated by the sun this way.
Before Constantine's alleged vision, he followed the official religion of the Roman Empire, the imperial cult, a pagan religion that worshipped Apollo above all else. Much like the pagan god Mithras, Apollo was the sun god that represented the light of creation. According to the imperial cult, Constantine, as emperor, was a superhuman avatar, the link between Apollo and the rest of humanity. And from the archaeology, it's clear that Constantine bought into this idea completely. He commissioned this 12-meter statue of himself. And not surprisingly, the statue came with an enormous head. Built into this statue's healthy hairline may be evidence that Constantine believed he was more than a mere representative of Apollo.
There are dowel holes that certainly were for some kind of insert, and it seems likely that it was for a rayed crown.
That's not Christian to me. To me, that's saying, I am God.
Right. There's absolutely no humility in any of Constantine's self-fashioning. I mean, he's very happy to have a 40-foot tall statue of himself looming over this space in the center of Rome. He allows cities in the north of Italy to erect cults to his family, to worship him as a god.
He is aloof, he's
Yes.
giant, and he's
Yes.
godlike.
Yes, he's superhuman. He is superhuman.
The image of Constantine with sun rays emanating from his head not only matches the earliest images of Apollo, it also matches the iconography of Mithras. And is it just coincidence that Christian art begins to depict Jesus the same way, with a halo of light around his head? Or was Constantine combining all the gods of light into one? When Constantine claimed to have had a vision of the Milvian Bridge, which religion was Constantine truly embracing? Did Constantine abandon paganism for Christianity? Or did he blend Apollo and Mithras into Jesus Christ, and then refashion all three in his own image? As it turns out, when Constantine had his arch built, he topped it off with a bronze portrait of himself. Destroyed in antiquity, this statue depicted him riding the same kind of chariot as Apollo, seemingly taking off into sunny skies. Constantine is known to history as the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity, legalize it, and thereby change the world. But the archaeology he left behind suggests an alternative history. His triumphal arch is covered with pagan symbols.
So I want to get one more clip. I'm gonna fast forward it just a little bit. All right. Get towards the end, because they'll say this guy here, he cut up. Yeah, Constantine cut up, man. So we're gonna get toward the end, then we get a few more precepts. Bible shot. If a brother could get Revelation 22 and 19, Revelation 22 and 19. All right. Well, yeah, we're gonna get a couple more. Mm.
Hey, have you ever been told you have a nice voice? Well, what if I told you you could turn your voice into act?
And just for all right, we always got new listeners. All right, that's not the Messiah. What he looks like. Okay, no Edomite, no pale, thin, fragile Edomite with stringy hair. All right, his name not Jesus, Yahweh. Okay, what how they portray it. But yeah, I'm play this toward the end, and then we'll get a few precepts before we close out.
Seemingly worshiping Jesus while replacing Jesus with himself.
Our investigation has revealed that Constantine merged the great pagan sun gods Mithras and Apollo and replaced their images with his own. Maybe that's not blasphemy by Christian standards, but it does tell us what Constantine thought of himself. By depicting himself with rays of light coming out of his head, Constantine was telling the world that he was to be worshipped as a god. Now, where does that leave Christianity? Was Constantine willing to step aside and bow down to the king of the Jews as any Christian would? I don't think so. I think Constantine took Jesus and refashioned him in his own image, thereby turning the anti-Roman rebel we read about in the Gospels into a symbol of Roman imperialism.
To find evidence for this, Simca travels to the Archbishop's Chapel in Ravenna, Italy, where there's a 6th century mosaic that depicts Jesus in a whole new light.
That's a mosaic of Jesus dressed as a Roman soldier. Although if you look at it more carefully, you can see that he's actually a Roman emperor dressed for command. He's got the military equipment, and of course he has the cross over his shoulder. So when you can kind of see that Christ is also taking on the role of being the Roman emperor.
He's depicted as the emperor.
As the emperor in a military role.
So Constantine didn't start running around dressed like Jesus.
Right.
He got Jesus to dress like him.
Right.
The irony is that after Constantine, Jesus, who had been crucified by the Roman army, was now depicted as its leader. But what was Constantine's goal? Was he trying to change Jesus? Or was he trying to replace him? To answer this question, Simca now looks into the plans Constantine made for his own funeral.
Well, he was actually buried in Constantinople in the Church of the Holy Apostles, which no longer exists. It was reported that he was buried with the 12 apostles surrounding him.
So Constantine prepares his burial by creating a real coffin for himself.
Right.
And then these pretend coffins for the other disciples.
Right.
If you take Jesus' place, one way to interpret it is I am Jesus.
Well, you could see it that way. On earth, the Roman emperors do become the stand-in for Jesus, because now with the Christian Roman Empire, the emperor takes on the role as being the leader of the worldwide Christian community.
And that's the role that the popes, all right, would take, as they would, be, the representative, okay, of the heavens on earth. You go to the Roman Pope, that's what they claim to be. And see, so the emperor, was pretty much Roman emperors, all right, that authority, was pretty much given to popes. Okay. And you go into the Pope, they had a lot of influence on different governments, man. Different political affairs, and and it was all corrupt. So that's a major rabbit hole to jump in. All right, but we're just gonna touch, on some of it. All right, so let's play some more. Like I say, this nigga Constantine cut up, man. This nigga was full of himself, man. And this pagan Christianity that we see today, You know, he laid a lot of the foundation to it. Okay, the going to church on Sunday, you know, they come from him because he worshiped a sun god. All right, which I'll show that, but let this play and we'll show that.
By taking Jesus' place, did Constantine see himself as someone who could promote Jesus' message or subvert it? Can the arch also answer this question? From this high vantage point, Simca suddenly makes a discovery that would have never occurred to him below.
How you position something relative to something else, that's sacred geometry. He's essentially putting himself in relationship with the Flavians.
Just on the other side of Constantine's arch is the famous Colosseum, built by the Emperor Vespasian Flavius. Across on the left is a triumphal arch built by the same emperor's son, Titus Flavius. And in the center, where there is now a circular depression in the grass, once stood a giant fountain built by Vespasian's other son, Domitian Flavius, one of the greatest persecutors of early Christianity. Why would Constantine want to associate himself so intimately with the Flavian dynasty? As it turns out, the first-century Flavian emperors have gone down in history as the men who destroyed Jerusalem and the Holy Temple in it. They could literally boast that they had torched the house of God. Jesus wept for the destruction of the temple. In contrast, by positioning his arch in close proximity to the destroyers of the temple, Constantine was permanently linking his legacy with theirs. But if that wasn't enough, he celebrated the Flavian name as his own. He called himself Flavius Constantinus. Could it be that just as the Flavians boasted that they had defeated the God of Israel, Constantine schemed to defeat the religion that worshipped Jesus as God's son? But as we have seen, Constantine was going to do it not by oppressing Christianity, but by adopting it. Not by defeating it, but by defining it. He would out-Flavian the Flavians. He wouldn't fight people, he would fight their ideas. He would defeat Jesus by transforming him from a crucified Judean rebel into a Roman emperor.
For 1500 years, people accepted the story that Constantine was a true Christian, that he had a vision of the cross, and that he converted a pagan Roman Empire to Christianity. But our investigation has revealed another story, one that isn't particularly Christian. We're not the first. Other investigators have noticed discrepancies in Constantine's character. But they concluded that maybe he wasn't religious. Maybe he was just pragmatic. But maybe he was religious after all. Not in a Christian sense, but in a pagan sense. It seems that he put his faith in the Son. He believed in the Son's only begotten Son, himself.
Yeah, so I'll put that link in the description if you want to watch the whole video. It's pretty informative, you know, about 44 minutes long. So you want to watch it, you know, it's a good watch. It's worth, you know, the time. And also, can a brother put 2 Corinthians 10? Well, now I'm going to get it because I got to get it in the NLT. Because I want to get it in the NLT. So let's, unless a brother can post it, 2 Corinthians 10. Verses 4 and 5 in the NLT. You know, if a brother can post it, if not, I'll get it. All right, but let's get this. All right. It's the brother Gashan 72, Revelation 22 and 18. For I testify to every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, the Most High shall add unto him the plagues that are written in the book. All right. And Constantine, you know, he's guilty as hell of adding things to the doctrine, man, infusing that madness into the doctrine, even that whole Easter that comes from Constantine. He made that, standard within what modern Christianity is the Easter. Okay, it says Revelation 22:19. It's a brother Hopeful Lake 3. It says, if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophet, the Most High shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city and from the holy things, all right, which are written in the book. Okay, and Constantine is back somewhere today, and he's just being reserved, all right, for judgment, man. But just to show you a few things, because you had the whole Council of Nicaea, okay, which that was pretty much, he was the overseer of that council, okay, and like I said, it's something else you can go into. It was in 325, and I want to see. I want to get to the point, but he established a lot of false teachings. He pretty much commissioned, all right, a lot of false teachings. Okay. Now it says the council formulated a creed, declared the summary and declaration of the summary of the Christian faith. Several creeds were already in existence. Many creeds were acceptable to the members of the council, including Arius. From earliest time, various creeds served as a means of identification for Christians, as a means of inclusion and recognition, especially in baptism. In Rome, for example, the Apostle Creed was popular, all right, especially for the use of Lent and the Easter season. See, these things were added. Okay, the Council of Nicaea added that Lent, okay, and Easter. Okay, it had nothing to do, which goes back to Ashtoreth. Okay, the goddess of fertility. Okay, and then you go here and say, well, you can look into that more. Just look up the Council of Nicaea. Okay, which that was in 325. Let's go here. All right, so you go here. All right, it says Constantine's decree established a 7-day week in the Roman Empire. Okay, which we go by 7-day week now, which later spread to Europe and to the rest of the world. The names of the days of the week in English and several other languages come from the days assigned to the sun, moon, and Saturn by the Romans. Okay, you go here to Sunday. It said Constantine's decree made Sunday a public holiday and a day of rest from labor for city people, judges, and craftsmen. However, country people were allowed to continue working in the fields. The church welcomed this development because it made it easier for Christians to attend, worship, and rest on Sunday, which goes back to the sun god. Okay, so Constantine, that's why the title, the father of pagan Christianity, and why I say Esau, he came, later on is the Renaissance period. He took that the baton of that false Christianity and ran with it. Okay, or pagan Christianity and ran with it. He added more freakiness to it. Okay, but the foundation was a nigga by the name of Constantine, man. 2 Corinthians 10 verses 4-5 said, we use the Most High's mighty weapons, not worldly weapons, to knock down the strongholds of human reasoning and to destroy false arguments, man. And now the truth, all right, of the Bible is being made known, and it's tearing down all these strongholds, man, and all these traditions of men, that have, attached themselves to the Bible. Okay, it said we destroy every proud obstacle, okay, that keeps people from knowing the Most High. We capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Hamashiach, man, because, pagan Christianity puts you in opposition with the Most High. Okay, and that's one of the first things that we repent from when we come into the truth is what? Those pagan holidays, man. That pagan name. Okay, that's one of the first. That's one of the main things that we depart from is what? Idolatry, man. When we first awaken to who we are. We find out all the things that's attached, to idolatry, and we awaken and separate, man. So that's the point. Just wanted to bring that out. Going to history and uh oh yeah, before I leave, I want to show y'all this. So I got another channel. Let me see. Here we go. So I got another channel. Bob Shy. Let me put a link up there for y'all to subscribe. So this GMS historical breakdowns, and what I just started doing, start putting different videos that I've done on history, different documentaries, even videos that other brothers have done. Elder Yasha Wamba, he goes into a lot of breakdowns in history, and I begin to, from all brothers, that I, whenever I listen to a video that goes into history, goes into particular breakdowns, I just put it on this channel. So it'll be all videos and on history, documentary, on history, certain things I'll be watching, that maybe you would like to watch, the whole documentary. So I just, Lord will just start an archive, over here, so let me click on the video just so I can give you the link. So subscribe, you brothers can subscribe and share, and forward Baba Shah, so this is all right. So yeah, just a link, I say I just be putting videos of that genre, history, certain breakdowns, and Lord will, once I get some traffic on here, I do lessons like this on this channel, so this will be a channel, dedicated, you brothers, you sisters want to go over and just indulge, into the histories, it'll be there, so I just plan on building this channel up, just for videos like this, not only from myself, but from, I say, all the brothers, and I said, there's a few documentaries I put on there, so, you can watch the documentary yourself as well, just thought that would be a good tool, for brothers that's into that, so yeah, that's the point, Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters were edified once again, and give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful Shalom.